What is up everyone, and welcome to some more F1 22 My Team Career Mode. Last time out we were in Baku, and if you can't tell by the worn components sign, we had a DNF. It sucked because we were not doing too badly. We were sort of like P7 I think, or around there, and then the gearbox packed in, said no more please, and so I had to abort the race on about lap 10. This time we're going to be at the Canadian Grand Prix. It's not one of my strongest circuits, so anything top 8 around there would be ideal, especially considering, as I've been talking about in the previous videos, we are beginning a slow slide down the performance index as we have maxed out all of the performance upgrades that we can do. And we don't have any facilities at Spec 3, at least until today, where we now have a Spec 3 aero facility and can begin doing some ultimate aero upgrades. However, we can't afford to do any of those at the moment because the minimum price of them without any development boosts is 2,550 resource points, which is a lot more than the 800 we currently have. So we're going to have to grind pretty hard in these practice sessions in order to get the maximum amount of resource points we can get from them, in the hopes of getting these final 3 ultimate aerodynamic upgrades on the car. But once we do that, we will have a very bloody fast car, at least through the corners. Through all high-speed corners, we will be elite. It's a shame to say that we won't be getting any of those upgrades on before the British Grand Prix if we haven't bought any yet, because Britain is a very aero-heavy track, and if we'd have got 1 or 2 of those upgrades on the car by Britain, I'm pretty confident we could win that race, but maybe we still can. Who knows? Now we're going to get into the Canadian Grand Prix proper. We do the first practice session, and it goes okay, but it is a wet session, so it's always difficult to gauge what the pace is going to be like and how it's going to translate into into qualifying and into the race itself. Sometimes you can be slow in practice and then fast in qualifying and slow in the race. Sometimes you can be slow in one, fast in both of the others, and sometimes you can just be fast in all 3 or slow in all 3, which is what often happens. So we'll see what's going to happen as we move forward, and we begin to get into qualifying. We still don't have enough quite to get those ultimate aero upgrades. We didn't get enough development boosts from that. You see, the only one that we got was for the rear diffuser. We could potentially get one of these durability upgrades on the car, but I think I'm going to wait until I've got the aero upgrades before I think about investing in those final durability upgrades we can afford for the time being. Now it is time for us to get into qualifying, and it was only raining for the practice session. It won't be raining in qualifying, or fingers crossed in the race either, and that means that it's going to be entirely dependent on our own pace and how we can compete with the cars around us, which, given my general lack of pace in Canada historically, I'm not particularly looking forward to it. We get a massive block from Esteban Ocon in the first flying lap that we do. We actually cut the track a little bit there. I think we were lucky not to get the lap time deleted, but we were going so slow it didn't matter. And we're going to have to improve significantly on that time if we want any hope of making it into Q2. Come through the final chicane now, and you can see we have improved significantly. We're about 2 seconds up as we cross the line, and that is going to be good enough to put us into P10. So we are comfortably through to Q2, and now the next goal is going to be making it into Q3. And I think if we can do that, I'll be happy with wherever we finish. Enzo Fittipaldi all the way up in 12th. As I've said recently, he's been performing pretty well, so I'm quite keen to get him back in the car for the second half of the season, and we'll see what he can do when we come to some more tracks and we have a slightly faster car. We come into Q2 now. We're on our first flying lap on a set of used softs. It's good enough for a 1:11.0. Fittipaldi actually goes faster than us on this occasion, but we definitely are going to improve on a set of fresh softs, and that we do. We are about a second up almost as we come to the end of our second flying lap, and it's going to be good enough for a 1:10.1, which puts us P9, and we are through to Q3. So whatever happens from now on, I am going to be happy with that. I like to get a tiny bit more improvement, but I'm not going to be too mad if I don't. Fittipaldi is out in 13th, but that's a fairly strong qualifying from him, I'd say, especially given where our car is in the performance index. I can't be too mad about that. Looks like Alfa Romeo are finally starting to come good. We got Shwartzman in P11, which is a decent result for him. And his teammate Lundgaard wasn't too far afield in P16 as well. So both of them making it to Q2 is a good result for them. And yeah, maybe they can challenge into the points, especially Shwartzman come race time. Now we're on our our first flying lap of the final qualifying session, Q3. And we're on a used set of softs once again, and the time that we set is a 1:10.5 on used softs. That is pretty fast, actually. So we'll see if we can find some improvement to maybe get us into the 109s to compete with the cars around us for the final lap of Q3. We are now on a fresh set of softs, and you see as we come around the hairpin there, we are about 3.5 tenths up. Oh, we're actually improving. I guess we got a better exit from the hairpin on this occasion. And now we've just got the final chicane, and this is going to determine whether we have a good time or a bad time in qualifying. Come through the final chicane, it's pretty good. We make up a couple more tenths. It's going to be a 109, I reckon. We cross the line, and it is a 109.9, and it's good enough to put us only P9. Okay, wow, I thought it was going to be better than that. I thought it was going to be like P8, P7, but we do eventually get into the 109s. That's all I really care about. And we out-qualified the Alpines as well, who are probably the team we're most concerned about in this championship. I haven't completely lost sight of the Drivers' Championship, but definitely after that DNF, we are looking a lot less likely as a shoe-in for it. It's looking like it's going to go down to Norris and Leclerc, and any position I can get in the Drivers' Championship is fine. You know, it's basically only driver acclaim that attributes to, and I don't need any more driver acclaim because I've already maxed out my perks. So everything from now on is just providing a bonus to team acclaim. But it grows at such a slow rate that it's not too significant. And yeah, we'll keep plowing through for now, and hope that we can get as many sort of points on the board as we can. But even then, like, I feel like we're already pretty much confirmed getting P5 in this championship, unless I massively drop the ball in the second half of the season. So yeah, I guess we'll just have to wait and see. But I can't really see a world in which we let this slip away from us. And you can feel free to quote that in 11 races time if I do let it slip away from us.
We're back once again beside the St. Lawrence River here in Montreal for the Canadian Grand Prix. The event first moved to the variant of this track back in 1978, and it was won by none other than Gilles Villeneuve, the first Canadian to ever win his home race, and in whose honour the circuit would be renamed. We'll be seeing top speeds of around 210 miles per hour here at the circuit Gilles Villeneuve, with around 2/3 of the lap taken at full throttle. High-speed chicanes spell potential danger, especially the infamous Wall of Champions, and watch out for overtaking into the hairpin and that final chicane. It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. Charles Leclerc lines up on pole position, edging out Lando Norris, who'll start from P2. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Sainz, Verstappen, Daniel Ricciardo, and Perez. Hamilton, Russell, Robinson, and Robert Shwartzman. Magnussen, Fittipaldi, Mick Schumacher, and Latifi. Lundgaard, Gasly, Lance Stroll, and Guan Yu Zhou. Fernando Alonso, Ocon, Albon, and Yuki Tsunoda. It's almost time for the lights to go out, so let's head down to the track where preparations are underway. Natalie Pinkham joins me once again in the commentary box. It's fantastic to have you with us today. I'm curious though, how do you think the drivers stop those pre-race nerves from becoming overwhelming when you're lining up on the grid?
Well, I imagine they'll be starting to feel the adrenaline as they anticipate the rundown into turn one, a bit like preparing to go into battle. The unknown situation will bring nerves, but that's a good thing. It'll keep them focused on the moment and on their surroundings as we build towards the start of the Grand Prix.
Yep, so just the classic spiel from Natalie Pinkham there. and an extended outro to the grid for whatever reason, and now we are ready to get into the race proper. I think we're going to go on a default strategy because we didn't do any wet weather, or we didn't do any dry weather running in practice, so there's nothing to compare it to. But most of the cars around us are starting on mediums as well, which makes me think this is probably the correct strategy to be on, and we will see whether it works out for us or not. Try and maybe move forward a few positions, but if we can just if we can consolidate sort of like 8th or 7th maybe, if there's a few like incidents ahead of us, that would be the sort of ideal scenario here, I reckon. And we'll see what happens as we line up on the grid. We get a decent enough parking. I feel like their threshold for incredible is too low because I definitely could have been a bit further ahead than that. But we'll... I was going to say we'll see what happens. I feel like I say that all the time at the moment. So I need to come up with a new catchphrase as the lights come on. And the lights go out. And we get a pretty banger start, all things considered. We're already way ahead of Russell as he has a terrible getaway from the line. And we're going to try and challenge up the inside, but we're not going to get too cocky about it because that's how you crash. And we have to go out wide there to avoid going into the back of Hamilton, which allows Russell back into the fight against us. But because we take such a wide line, it means we get a pretty good exit. I think Russell was burning battery up the hill there, but we managed to stay ahead of him as we go around the outside. And now maybe we're going to have a look at Hamilton up the inside of this corner. Not quite. I think you might remember last year, if you watched my Canadian Grand Prix from last year, I was making overtakes left, right and centre into that corner somehow. And that is not happening on this occasion, I am afraid to say, as we are being hounded by George Russell behind. He really wants to get ahead as quickly as he possibly can, and I am very desperate not to let that happen. But that Mercedes is very fast around this track, and there are a lot of long straights. It is not an easy track to defend at by any stretch of the imagination if your opponent is faster in a straight line. Not to mention, I feel like our car has been having supremely bad traction recently. I don't know if the downforce upgrades do anything to improve the traction of your car, or whether that's a chassis thing, but I definitely think we need to improve the chassis soon, because I cannot compete with any of the cars around me when it comes to corner exits. It's actually ridiculous. They get such faster exits than me that I really, really struggle to compete with them on the straights. It's like, you'll come around the corner and I'll be like 5/10 ahead, and then by the end of whatever straight we're on, I'll be like maybe a 10th ahead, or they'll be ahead of me. So Russell managed to get ahead of us as a result of exactly what I was talking about, and now we are under pressure from Robert Shwartzman, who is up into P10, and we will try and compete with him if we can. I think Alonso had a penalty, which is why he's nowhere to be seen, despite the fact that he was P10 in qualifying. And I was looking at some of the drivers who hadn't scored any points yet in this season, and I think that was last race, and Shwartzman was one of them. And he has a real opportunity now, as does Magnussen, to get both their own personal first points of the season and also the team's first points of the season, as Shwartzman overtakes me into lap 7. But we will try and get him back as we progress throughout this race. It's a long race, and I don't think Shwartzman has absolute faster pace than us. The Alfa Romeo is definitely a slightly faster car, and this is a track which is very suited to aero, as we cut the track there a little bit. I think that was actually our second warning. I didn't show the first one, but I'm pretty sure I did get another one. So we have to be very careful now, otherwise we are going to be under extreme pressure with a penalty applied. This is Zhou Guanyu in the Haas, retiring from the Grand Prix as we move into lap 8. He makes a bit of contact there with one of the AlphaTauris, but I think he's just about okay. It seems like an engine failure based on the smoke that is billowing out of the back of his car, and that is going to be an unfortunate end to the Canadian Grand Prix for Zhou Guanyu. But I don't know if he was on for points anyway, so it should be okay. His teammate isn't too far from the fringes of the points, as he is trailing his old teammate in P11 and P12 at the moment, and we are pressuring Shwartzman into the first corner. We're going to go up the inside, and I think we can hang it around the outside here and maybe keep hold of this place. Yeah, for a car that has some of the best aero on the grid, I think the Alfa Romeo might even have the best aero package on the grid. They're definitely not putting it to good use, because this track is full of high-speed corners. We now come into the pits on lap 16, and Shwartzman does as well, and this can mean that we can hopefully stay ahead of him, and we're going to fit the hard tyres to the end of the Grand Prix, and we will see if we can hold off the attack from behind for the time being and maybe make up a few positions now that we are on a fresh set of tyres again. You saw in China and you saw in Bahrain how through the first phase of the Grand Prix I wasn't particularly fast, but then in the second stint I had much better pace once we'd burned off some fuel from the car. So maybe, just maybe, we can do something similar on this occasion, but it will have to remain to be seen. Oh my goodness, I need to come up with something better than that. I can't keep saying that one. We're now under pressure from Shwartzman a little bit, who is within a second of us actually, and I think has got his tyres up to temperature already. You see how much he closed me up on this occasion, 5/10 through that straight. I know that he's got the DRS obviously, but still, that is a gargantuan amount to be making up in one straight when you're over a second behind on the entry into the straight. So yeah, that is not fantastic. But we'll see if we can hold them off as we come through this straight now as well. We exit the hairpin, and he was closing us down even before the DRS. So I think that he is going to be on the attack as we come through this DRS zone. He's 3/10 behind as we come through the final chicane, and now we are going to have to do everything we can to hold him off, because we have not dropped him at all. He got a much better exit from the chicane than we did. I think he must have got a better run through it as well. We have to go out wide there to prevent from crashing into the back of him. And that means that he is now, a lot further ahead of us. He's already made up almost a second, and on these straights, which are his home turf, I'm sure he will make them up even better. That said, though, we are now on lap 19, and we are closing him down once again with the DRS. We're going to see if we can get ahead of him before the chicane, as we dummy to the inside and then move to the outside. We're going to brake late, move through the chicane, but there wasn't enough room for the both of us, and he was determined to take that line through the chicane. So there wasn't much I could do about him doing that, unfortunately. But we'll see as we come back now onto the start of lap 20 if we can try and size up that move even better than we did last time. It's just these like slow corners, the exits from slow corners. I find I'm so useless at being able to keep with the cars in front. We had a really good run through the final chicane this time though, and we're going to be a lot closer to Shwartzman as we move to the outside on this occasion, which gives us the inside of the next corner. We're going to be fighting him the whole way through it, and as we move out wide, you see we are quite a bit further ahead of him on this occasion, and we've moved back into P9. So yeah, this is turning out okay for us, but I think this is probably the best we're going to get. You can see that Russell and Hamilton are very far ahead already, and I don't think there's going to be any catching them back as Shwartzman goes up the inside. We're going to take the inside to the next corner though, and we'll see who stays ahead at the zenith of this battle. He is moving ahead. I'm going to dive up the inside here to try and stave him off, and somehow as we move through that chicane, I come off better, which I don't really know how that happened, but I'll handily take it. So yeah, it looks like it's game on between me and Shwartzman as we have been battling for 18 laps at this point. Basically, we first traded places on lap 5, sorry, not 8, and we're still doing it 18 laps later. So this is an incredible battle with Shwartzman, and we'll see if. We'll see if it's going to go on for the remainder of the race, or if things are going to change. Lap 31, and well, you will see what happens here as I slow things down a tiny bit, and you can see all four wheels off the track. I got a penalty for that one, unfortunately, which means that we are now going to have to really break away from Shwartzman as Hamilton crashes into Leclerc there, and Russell is being held up as a result of that. There's nowhere for him to go either. I think Leclerc must have spun at the chicane or something, and that's caused Hamilton to be out of the race. And not only is Hamilton out of the race, but because they're both stopped on track, Russell and Leclerc have both been disqualified from this race, believe it or not. So that's a major shake-up of the race, and it has moved me up 3 positions. However, with my penalty applied, I haven't been able to drop Robert Shwartzman. I moved out of his DRS range. I really extended the gap to him for a while, but then he reeled me straight back in, and yeah, we find ourselves only 1.5 seconds ahead of him as we come down into the final sector now. And that is going to mean that we are probably only going to close P7 in this race. Lando Norris has taken the win, so he is going to move even further ahead in the Drivers' Championship, especially because Leclerc hasn't finished this race. We take home only 6 points, And yeah, that is the end of a difficult Canadian Grand Prix.
Okay, pick up rubber and bring it home.
I wish we had not got that penalty. P6 would have been a decent result given what we were expecting. Lundgaard gets driver of the day, and yeah, we hopefully can have a better time out next time in the British Grand Prix.
Canadian Grand Prix, and they've hung on to take a sublime victory here today. Natalie Pinkham, how do you think they were able to set themselves apart today?
Well, I honestly feel it was down to the driver and car today. I mean, we could talk driver skill all day, but if you don't have a solid team to back that, you're never going to get anywhere. When you hit that sweet spot of having both an excellent driver and an incredible car, that's when you see results like those that we've witnessed today.
Our drivers are making their way out for the podium celebrations, and it's going to be McLaren picking up the winner's trophy. Congratulations to the entire team for that fantastic performance.
So Norris takes the win and moves, no doubt, much further ahead in the driver standings. We've also got Sainz and Verstappen on the podium there. Sainz is battering us in this rivalry. I have not been able to get close to him. I really thought, based on his performance last season, we would be in with more of a shot, but he is having a really big turnaround this season compared to where he was last year. I wonder where he is in the standings now, because he, like I said, he's been doing a lot better, and will probably be losing another rivalry.
For Lando Norris, who moves further ahead at the top of the table. Let's see how the driver's standings have changed. Let's focus on the driver of the day. Natalie Pinkham, come on, who do you pick?
Christian Lundgaard gets my vote today.
Let's move on to the constructors. It was a tough race for our championship leaders who lose ground at the top of the table. There was also a strong showing from the McLaren team today as they make their way up the standings. Well, what an end to another fantastic weekend of racing. Thanks to everyone who joined us, and we'll see you for the next one.
Yep, so not only have we already got 6 drivers in the 100-point range, but we are actually really in danger of falling down the order quite significantly if we don't develop the car to keep in touch with the rest of these guys, because this championship is really wide open right now. Like, Norris is very far ahead, but if McLaren suddenly slide down the order, there are so many drivers that could come in and pounce on that we really have a very open championship right now, and I think it's anyone's for the taking. No doubt it will probably be Leclerc for a third time in a row, based on what we've seen. Obviously, he was unlucky to get disqualified on this occasion, but he won several races in a row before this. So I'm still thinking that it's probably going to be him, even if Norris is looking like the favourite at the moment. And yeah, we're doing well enough in the Constructors' Championship, but in the Drivers' Championship, I really think that there are many people that could overtake us, and we could even end up finishing in a worse position than we finished last year. Last year, we managed to scrape a P5 in the Constructors' Championship and a P5 in the Drivers' Championship, as well as P6 in the Constructors. It was last year, actually. But this year, I think we're going to struggle to even do that. We're currently P3, but we're going to need a string of good results, starting with a good result in the British Grand Prix, which is the next Grand Prix that is happening, and then we're moving to Austria and France for the final races before the mid-season break, which is going to be even longer this time because there's no Hungarian Grand Prix, so it will be a 5 or 6 week mid-season break. And not only that, but we also have the contract renewal coming up soon, which we have to be hot on how much money we've got to be able to re-sign Enzo Fittipaldi if he wants us. This might be the first time, fingers crossed, that we have been able to hold a driver on our team for more than half a season. Here we see me driving past that crash again. I was quite lucky not to hit them myself because I didn't really see it coming. And that was the thing that changed the whole race. I was really unfortunate to get that penalty. I just cut the track by a little bit. It's so easy to do in Canada. Let me know if you agree with me, because I find that Canada is probably the easiest track to get penalties on of all of them. It's a real struggle bus here in Montreal. But you know, that's what happens, and Sainz moves way ahead in this rivalry. Pretty much no way to win it now unless he has a DNF in Britain, I would say. Even then, I think because there's only one race left, I think there's no way to take it. Yeah, we just outclassed in that rivalry, simply put, I think. So yeah, I think I think there's not really much else that can be said about that, other than we miss out on a lot of sponsor bonuses, and yeah, hopefully we can have a bit of a turnaround in time for Britain, so we can start investing in some chassis upgrades to hopefully help us improve the car even further. But that is going to be it for this video. If you enjoyed, please make sure you like and subscribe, and hopefully I will see you in the next one.